Alright guys, I think it's time to clear the air and check in on a game that's not Battlefield. So today I wanted to run down everything we know so far about the upcoming all-out war tactical shooter, WARDOGS. A game that's looking to pair tactical hardcore gunplay with the scale and destruction of games like a Battlefield or Delta Force with a 256 square kilometer map and 100 player sessions. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in seeing more of, drop a like and hit subscribe as we take a break from Battlefield and look forward to an upcoming game that can hopefully bring some energy back to the FPS genre with a fresh spin on all-out war in milsim mechanics. Now, if you've been watching the FPS space recently, you probably know things have felt a little stale. A lot of games chasing the same trends, a lot of releases that don't quite stick, and not a lot that really pushes the genre forward in a meaningful way. Thus, while I'm a huge fan of games like Insurgency Sandstorm, I want to see if WARDOGS can push the genre forward. Because instead of chasing trends, this game is going to try to carve out its own identity. At its core, WARDOGS is a 100-player, 3-team tactical FPS built around a massive sandbox. And instead of traditional modes like Conquest or Breakthrough, everything revolves around a single objective, a King of the Hill style control zone. 3 teams, 1 zone, and the first team to reach 100 points wins. Every 30 seconds, whichever team has the most players inside that zone earns points. So while on paper that sounds simple, these systems built around it are what really make this game stand out in a sea of open world tactical shooters. Because WARDOGS isn't just about running into the objective, getting kills, and respawning or trying to extract the loot, it introduces a persistent economic system that changes how you approach every single spawn. Every time you spawn in, you're not just picking a class, you're buying a new loadout. Weapons, gear, equipment, and even vehicles, everything is something you choose and purchase before heading back into the fight. And the way you earn that money is through playing the game any way you want. Getting kills, reviving teammates, piloting vehicles, holding positions, and even transporting players into the objective. All of it contributes to your cash. So instead of just focusing on stats, you're constantly thinking about the impact you can have on the match and players around you. You're thinking about the value you can provide. You're thinking about whether what you're doing is actually helping your team win, even if it's small stuff like moving around other players. And that creates a really satisfying gameplay loop where every decision matters. Do you spend big on better gear and try to make a huge play, or do you play it smart, build up your cash, and wait for the perfect moment to invest in something more game-changing? And what makes it even more interesting is that your money doesn't just reset after every match, it carries over. So if you play well, support your team, and manage your resources, you can build up a serious bank. You can come into future matches with a real advantage. But at the same time, that advantage is never guaranteed, because if you overspend or take the wrong fight, you can lose that investment just as quick. It's that constant balance between risk and reward that gives WARDOGS a really unique identity and will possibly be its biggest balancing hurdle. Next, on top of that, you got the objective and the hot zone system. Within the main control zone, there's a smaller shifting hotspot that offers even greater rewards. Being inside that hot zone gives you more cash, and your presence counts even more. So naturally, that's where the most intense fights are going to happen with the game's hardest core players. It becomes this high-stakes battleground within the larger battle where players who are willing to take some risks can really swing the outcome of the match. Because you're not just fighting over space, you're fighting over the opportunity to get your team more advantages. Next, moving on, let's talk about scale, because this is where WARDOGS really leans into the all-out war experience and looks to outdo AAA shooters like Battlefield and leans more into the realm of something like Arma. In general, this game takes place in a massive sandbox environment with a large active combat zone that supports infantry, ground vehicles like tanks and APCs, and aerial vehicles like attack choppers. So you can get these big cinematic moments with coordinated pushes, vehicle convoys, and aerial dogfights, but they're all driven by player decisions and the in-game economy. That tank rolling into the objective, someone chose to spend their resources on it. That helicopter dropping off a squad in hot zone, That's a strategic decision that someone is hoping pays off. And because of that, everything feels connected. Vehicles aren't just here for spectacle, they're part of the larger system driven by player action. And when you add in destruction and building on top of that, the sandbox really starts to come to life. Players can build fortifications, sort of like Battlefield 5 on steroids, where you can set up defensive positions and shape the map in real time. But at the same time, those structures can also be destroyed, which means no position is ever totally safe, and players can spend all game trying to build the team infrastructure. The map is constantly evolving, constantly shifting, and constantly reacting to what the players are doing. And that ties perfectly into the biggest strengths of WARDOGS, which is the player freedom and agency, something I harp on a lot with Battlefield. There are no class restrictions here. Your role is entirely defined by the loadout you choose and the money you earn. If you want to be a medic, you can build for that. If you want to snipe from a distance, you can do that too. If you want to run logistics, pilot vehicles, support your team, or go full-on assault, that's all up to you. The game gives you all the tools at the same time, and you decide how you want to use them. And that philosophy extends to squad play as well, as there are no limits on squad sizes, so you can jump in with your friends without worrying about restrictions. You got squad-based communication tools, vehicle coordination, and proximity chat, which adds another layer of immersion and interaction to every match. In general, it really feels like the game is built around letting players create their own moments. And honestly, that's what makes the whole thing so exciting. Because WARDOGS isn't trying to be a battle royale, it's not trying to be an extraction shooter. It's building its own identity, something that blends tactical gunplay, large-scale warfare, and player-driven decision-making into one cohesive experience. And in a time where a lot of shooters feel like they're playing it safe, that's really a refreshing direction. Now, of course, this is an ambitious project. Anytime you're combining this many systems, scale, economy, player freedom, and long-form matches, there are going to be challenges, especially for a smaller studio. But everything we've seen so far, the vision is strong, the systems sound cool, and most importantly, it feels like this game understands what makes large-scale shooters fun and is trying to evolve that in a meaningful way. If it all comes together, WARDOGS could offer something that a lot of players have been waiting for, a true all-out war experience that rewards teamwork, strategy, and smart decision-making. And that's something I think a lot of us can get behind. So yeah, this is definitely a game to keep your eye on, as it looks to release on PC first, with console planned afterwards. But let me know what upcoming games you're most excited for, and for everything else WARDOGS and Battlefield, drop a like and hit subscribe, and as always, thank you guys for watching.